Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into a super useful little German word that's going to totally level up your conversations. Before. If you've ever struggled to explain the order of events, what you did before you did something else, then this is for you. Okay, so let's set the stage a little. One of the trickiest parts of learning any new language is getting the timing right when you're connecting ideas. It's not just about saying what happened, but when it happened in relation to everything else.
So that's the big question, isn't it? How do you actually say that you finished your work before you went home? Or that you called your friend before you came over? Well, that's exactly the puzzle we're going to solve today.
To really get a handle on before, we're going to touch on something called temporal clauses. Now I know, that sounds super technical and maybe a little boring, but stick with me. The idea behind it is actually incredibly simple.
A temporal Satz is really just a fancy grammar term for a part of a sentence that answers the question when. That's it. It just adds some time and context to what you're talking about. And before is one of the key tools we use to build them.
Probably the easiest way to understand what before does is to look at what it doesn't do. See, before is all about things that happen one after the other, non-simultaneous events. One thing has to finish before the next one can even start.
For example, if you use the word während, which means while, the two actions are happening at the exact same time. You're listening to music and you're working simultaneously.
But with before, everything changes. The actions are totally separate. First, I work a little more. That's action 1, and it's completed. Then, after that's done, I go home. That's action 2. See the sequence? That is the core job of before.
All right, so now we know what before is for. Let's get to the really important part, how to use it without making a mistake. And trust me, there is one golden rule you absolutely positively have to remember.
Yep, that's the whole secret. In any part of the sentence that starts with before, the verb, the action word, gets kicked all the way to the very end of that clause. It's a non-negotiable rule. Let's see what that looks like.
Okay, let's build a sentence together. We start with our main point. Florian kommt nach Hause. Florian is coming home. Then we add our connector word, before. And now, the golden rule kicks in. For the second part, the verb ist doesn't go in its normal spot. Nope, it gets punted all the way to the end. Bevor das Essen fertig ist. That structure is key.
Theory is one thing, but seeing it in action is how it really sticks in your brain. So let's look at a few more real-world examples to get this rule completely locked in. Here's a super common and useful thing you might say. Notice the structure? The main command is rufen Sie bitte an. Then comes before, and what's at the very, very end of that clause? The verb kommen. Perfect.
Let's do another one. Action 1, they drink coffee. Action 2, Julia makes a phone call. Before connects them, and again, look where the verb for Julia's action, telefoniert, is, all the way at the end. You're starting to see the pattern, right? Once you spot it, you see it everywhere.
Now this is a great example from a manager's blog, showing a whole sequence of events. Look how she structures her morning. Before she eats breakfast, she jogs. Before ich frühstücke, and before she goes into her first meeting, she has a quick coffee. Bevor ich in die erste Besprechung gehe. Every single time, that verb is right where it's supposed to be, at the end of the before clause.
So, we've walked through the what, the why, and the how. Let's just boil it all down to the two most important things you need to walk away with today.
Okay, here it is. Number 1, use before when you're sequencing events. One thing happens, then another thing happens. They're not happening at the same time. And number 2, the golden rule. The verb in a before clause always, and I mean always, goes to the very end. Get those two things down and you've mastered it.
Now you have the pattern and you have the rules. But the absolute best way to make this stick is to actually use it. So go on, give it a try. Think of two things you did today. What did you do before you did something else?